So welcome to week 4 of 13 of the summer season of the Hot Fishin Points competition. This show is the weigh-in where we take a deep dive look into the Opens, the clubs and the majors. I'm joined by my regular presenter, Rich Chapman, who helps me look at the results where we dig into some of the venues that are doing well and some of the anglers that are doing well. So Rich, welcome.
Cheers, mate.
And good to see that you're actually in the results this week that I see. You've got some points.
Some is probably a bit high at the moment, but we've got points. That's sort of got us on the score sheet. I was saying, how mad is it where, what am I, 680th at the moment, but it proper changes how you fish. I've been like going to Marston Fields, that's been my little local at the moment that I've been spending a bit of time at. And even to the degree of going down and like making sure you got some maggots with it, that you can fish for silvers in the gaps, just to sort of, you're not fishing for a win all the time. If you draw mediocre, I'll fish for silvers. And to be fair, it did make a bit of a difference that day. I've like stuck £7 of silvers in the net during the quiet bit, and that's bumped us up to, I think I was second overall, but won me lake. And those have made the difference. So it's proper like changing the way you fish and how you think about matches, where it's not just out and out, I need to win the match or nothing. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that goes on and try and get a few more points for next week.
Brilliant. And you're not the first person I've heard to say that like you're kind of fishing to the end as well, just to get those points. And 680 sounds a lot, but when there's like 4,800 anglers in that, it's not bad, right? When you start to look at the amount of people in it. I mean, you ain't in the prizes yet, but you're doing
it's still that part of the season, isn't it, where you're getting your big moves and one or two results. You're seeing people jump like 100, 200, 300 places in some cases. So it's definitely, although it's kind of baby step sort of thing, you're in the running, you got a few points on the board, and especially when you like two droppers and everything come into play at the end, you couple of bad results where you've not weighed in or whatever, they're like forgotten about. So it's just keep plodding on, see if you can get a few points and see where it all ends up.
Exactly. And let me just remind everyone of the rules if anyone's watching this for the first time. So it's a 13-week competition and we take your best 10 match results over those 13 weeks. Also, if during a week you fish more than one match, we take your best session that week. So if someone's fishing multiple times, it's kind of leveling the playing field because it's only taking one match results and you're allowed to have those droppers. So let's jump into the overall results table, Rich. And to the point that we're just making here, Chris Weeder Senior in week 4 has jumped up 71 places. So the jumps in this early period are potentially massive, right?
Yeah, you're starting to see it settle down a bit now. Now we're sort of a bit into the season, but you've still got that potential big moves and like massive jumps on the scoring. But it's mega to see young Harry Campbell actually top of the overall rankings. Like he's had a ridiculous run the last few weeks at Partridge Lakes. He's been spending his time there on the open matches. 4 wins. Along with, he's had like fished a couple of the national junior nationals as well, but like I'm not quite sure how old he is. He can't be much more than sort of 16, 17, that sort of age, maybe a bit younger, but he's one of those names that's standing out. I was talking to Christian about it. He's one of them that like he called out as potential big names for the future, the way he's fishing, obviously going to all these F1 venues and specialising in that, and he's been getting some mega results and 46 points topping the overall leaderboard at the early stage.
Really impressive, right? And this view here, you can kind of see that this is a different view that we created. So you can see that Harry, under his name, he's fishing opens and majors. So already at that young age, he's getting that experience in across the venues. And where it's got the week, it shows you the points they got that week, and then it shows you the rank they had and the size of match under it. As you say, he's topping on big matches as well, right?
That's it. Partridge is one of them venues as well that you're getting your numbers there, and the standard of anglers always dead good. Even the like local lads that you won't have heard of on sort of a national basis, they're so hard to beat on there. They're going there week in, week out. There's matches there almost every day, and to be winning there regularly, you're doing something very right. And it's like, especially for a lad of his age, it's mega impressive, to be fair. But yeah, going down the leaderboard, you've got like both ends of the age spectrum on there with Chris Weeder Senior, obviously 45 points, just 1 point behind. And again, Partridge Lakes, one of them venues that's cropping up again and again with regular matches, regular big matches. Because that obviously comes into play, especially at the early stages, with the numbers on the match being kind of getting you those few extra points, because there's a bit of a bonus, isn't there, depending on the numbers of anglers.
Exactly. So if you get your 10 points for winning the match down to 1 point for 10th place, and then you get a 5% points bonus proportional to how many were in the match. And yeah, absolutely, that's playing in here.
Because what's the lower limit on matches for actually scoring points?
So the minimum number of anglers you can have in a match is 10. So if it's 15 and above, you get 10 points for the win, down to 1 point for 10th place. And then if the match is between 14 and 10 anglers, I think it's 8 the maximum points you can get, and we only score to like position 4 or something. So it's kind of proportionate to the size of match, because there were a lot of the smaller clubs that when I first started this really wanted to be part of it, but they also appreciated that it's harder to win a 50 pegger than it is a 10 pegger. So I think that proportional scoring lets everybody get involved. But yeah, like not letting that proportional points bonus let people run away with it too much either, just because you are fishing the big matches.
Yeah, a bit like your sort of goal difference in football, where it's enough, it gives you a little bit of a benefit, but it's not making it ridiculous that you can't compete whatever sort of size match you're fishing.
Exactly. And we always want to tweak the rules, right? Every season we've tweaked them slightly, because I want people to see this. People always message me with different ideas of how to score it. So I'm always tweaking it to make it better. We're only 3 seasons in, right? And it's not perfect yet, but I think we're starting to get to that sweet spot of fairness, regardless of size of match.
Yeah, it's definitely got to that sort of consistency. And Dave Chapman, who is in 3rd, but actually the highest ranked overall with a ticket, which is quite important. He's right up there and yet to win a match, I don't think. When you dive into it, again, Tunnel Barn, like Tunnel and Partridge are those 2 venues that seem to pop up again and again. He's got 5 seconds. He did have a win, but I think that was a 9 pegger on bottom pool, so didn't actually count to his results. But he's up there, 5 seconds and a third. So yeah. Perfect example of someone who's just nice and consistent in every single match. Again, quite big matches, sort of 60 peggers and stuff like that. So to be finishing second consistently, you're doing something right. But yeah,
people how this works actually, Rich, when you're talking about the points. So if you search for your name on the points table, it's going to show you that how many matches you've fished in, how many are scored, and your total points. And then you can scroll down here and you'll see a summary of all your matches. And what Rich is calling out here, it says your match rank and the points you got. So there were 62 competitors in here. He came second in the match rank, and got 12 points. And then you can just skim down here, and just at a glance, Rich was able to see that kind of lots of seconds, but no first yet. And to that point where if you fish more than 1 session a week, it takes your best session. We'll still show the sessions that weren't counted under this kind of pink banner here as not counted. So you can still see all your matches, make sure the maths is okay. I'm sure you'll tell me if it's not. And you can just kind of skim down here and see what's going on.
That's it. And obviously you can then dive into the full results, clicking on the match banner at the end. That brings up your full results and everything. So you can like look back at those, see how you did, see how everyone else did. And it's nice as well when you get the full results. There's so many you see on Facebook just posting like your top 5 or your top 10 and stuff like that. But it's nice to be able to go through the entire leaderboard and all your sections, break it down how you want and proper dive into it, which I think a lot of us, be it from seeing how you've done against other anglers or just seeing how certain pegs or certain areas have fished, it's all like valuable information that you can go and look at and learn from, hopefully.
100%. Like knowing if you need £300 to win or £70 to win, tactically you're going to go to that match there. So I always say that whether you get involved in this competition or not, it's a great tool to just use to better your own fishing.
That's it. And it's just like, yeah, getting the mood of the venue, and especially if you're a club angler going to here, there, and everywhere, you're not focusing on one venue. Just being able to have a dive back for the results for the last week or two, you know what you're fishing for, where you want to draw, all that sort of thing. It's mega to have it all in one place that you can just have a bit of a search through.
And I hope that's why the venues want to get involved in this as well. Like, I can see the venues that use this regularly, the Partridges, the Tunnels, the Messingham Sands, like thousands and thousands of anglers are looking at their results on the Hot Fishing platform. So yes, it's good to score your fishing matches on here, but I think for the venues and the organisers, this is a really good way to promote your future matches as well, because people are using this as a research tool. So it's way more than scoring fishing matches, I think. And what's been really nice to see now is this season, the venues that are scoring their matches regulars, the Partridges, the Westwoods, I can see loads of their anglers this season have got involved, because they can see that their organisers being consistent with it, they can check their results, and so it kind of brings the anglers out to want to get involved. So yeah, if there are any organisers watching this or any anglers that want to be part of it, let them know that this is really good for just some free promotion for that venue, and it's not just about scoring fishing matches.
That's it. So yeah, plenty sort of going on in the overall. You've got anyone within sort of 40 points is right in the mix. Anyone on 30, you've got loads of names as you scroll down there. Sort of Ryan Lidgard's another one with a ticket who's been fishing all over the place, or doing quite a lot of the northern venues with Fish North, Fishermania qualifiers. Seeing him down at Westwood, that was probably one of the last matches he fished. That was getting interesting there, because you've got sort of 32 people fishing the match on Falcon, but it was like a who's who of anglers, because everyone's getting up there practicing for the Fishermania final. It's like a 32 pegger, but when you dive into that, you've got some of the, I don't think Ryan's qualified yet, but you've got sort of Tom Edwards and stuff who fish it all the time. But then you've got like Jamie Hughes fishing it, Matty Dawes fishing it, Rich Carriage, another regular that we see his name all the time. You have various people sort of walking around and trying to get a feel for the venue. So you can feel it starting to build up as you got the Fishermania final in 2 weeks, I think it is.
So yeah, I think there's loads of anglers still well in contention. Nice to see so many tickets in there as well of kind of people that are going to be qualifying for that. So yeah, only week 4, plenty to still go, but yeah, good luck everyone. All right, Rich, let's take a look at the club league.
That's it. So we've got Dave Chapman leading the way. Great surname. 45 points, and he's actually got a ticket. I think he's one of the first top of the leaderboards we've seen with a ticket at the moment. So mega to see he's out in front. Obviously touched on him before, but Tunnel Barn Farm, 5 second places and a third. So nice and consistent throughout the board. And at the moment in prime position to win a fair few quid, isn't it?
700 quid on this one. I think what I really like to see about this is just the mix of clubs in the top 20 at the moment. There's so many different clubs in there, which is what I wanted to see, right? Like there's often those good couple of anglers, and this is great that they're getting that recognition beyond the people that are in their club. So I always love to see them sharing the results, people being encouraging of their anglers in the bottom. So yeah, I think it's great for these individual anglers, but from a promotion side for these clubs as well, it's really nice to see.
Yeah, you're seeing quite a few, obviously looking at the ticket, who's got tickets, there's some of the anglers that we've seen last season that are kind of having another go and popping up, but there's quite a few new names as well, which is mega to see, and some right weird clubs popping up that you've like never heard of. Danny Barsdell is like a name I've not seen before on here, but when you dig into his results, Isle of Wight Freshwater Angling Association, so it's not even just limited to mainland UK. And that's the sort of thing, having a look through at the results and having a dive in, you get to hear about venues that you'd never heard of. I didn't even sort of know there was a match fishing scene on the Isle of Wight. I know they've got one sort of specimen carp venue, but obviously there's at least one match venue on there that's out and about. But he's been nice and consistent. Kingfisher it's called. Be interesting to find out what sort of venue it actually is. One we've not heard of, but again, nice and consistent. Couple of seconds, a win in there as well. And he's right up there in the mix on the club side of things. But for that, it is so interesting hearing about these venues, because you get your sort of regular ones that get all your features and anglers and publicity from the back of it, but there's so many of these little venues dotted around that you might find a little like hidden gem that you didn't know about sort of down the road from you. There's going to be so many people that can use it for that side of things. But
absolutely. Yeah, as we said earlier, I think promoting for the anglers, which is great, but yeah, the venues, the organisers can all get a bump from the exposure of being part of this, and it's free for them to do so. So for me, it's a no-brainer for them. So if your organisers and venues are using it, great. If they're not, tell them it's free. They might even get a mention on the show, and hopefully it's just going to be good for business for everyone as well.
That's it, and there's plenty of different clubs on there, but again, nice and tight at the top of the leaderboard. That's going to change a lot over the coming weeks, I think, as you get a few more wins and stuff thrown in there. Sort of 26 points up to sort of 37. Dave's running away with it a bit at the moment, but you need one or two good results in a week, and that's going to be all change at the top. And obviously, the nice thing this season, you're paying out a lot more further down as well, so it's not just out and out race for first. There's still prizes down to how far are you going this season?
We're paying out to the top 10 people that have got tickets. So you can see here, out the top 20, we're only giving out 5 of those prizes at the moment. So people have missed out if they've not been part of it this season. So yeah, I mean, the person who is not even the top 20 is going to be getting the 6th place prize, which I think is probably like 400 quid or something. So it's like, it's a great competition to be part of early. I always think this is the time to do it because it's going to pop at some point. But yeah, if you really want to get into the prizes, early is the time to do it.
That's it, and it's even cheaper this season, isn't it? Dropped from 50 quid to 30 quid to make it more inclusive, get more people involved, and I think it works like less than £2.50 a week. So
yeah, it worked out £2.30 a week. I mean, tickets are closed now. It closed after 2 weeks into the season, and so it's going to stretch out now. So we're going to decide how we're going to do it next season, but we've made it really accessible for people to be part of it. A bit of a no-brainer price, just something else to do, because yes, this is a great competition for everyone to be part of, but ultimately we're trying to raise the profile of the sport. This is not a platform for just a competition. We're trying to modernize, give the sport a fresher, modern look and feel, because I think we want to make it better for the anglers of today and make it a bit fresher to bring new and younger people into the sport. Otherwise, I don't think we're going to have one in 20 years' time. So that's what we're trying to do with this. That's why we're trying to keep all the prizes low, so more and more people can get involved. So if they do get involved, yes, they can win some prizes for themselves, but they're also helping do their bit for us to freshen up the sport.
So yeah, plenty of reasons for people to get involved and have a go at it. I think especially at that club level, it's mega for even just making it easy for people to share your results and share it with other people in the club. Everyone can keep an eye on it, make sure there's no little errors on the adding up, because I'm sure most people will flag it up straight away, won't they? But yeah.
I mean, if you see how the Isle of Wight guys are doing it here, so this is a league that they've got created, so nice for each individual match. You can see here has a tab for each of the matches in their league. They can go through, it's doing all their league scoring calculations for them as well. So do you mean it's just and all these features are free, right? So I think it's just, especially for the clubs, this is just a nice way of doing it and getting rid of all your spreadsheets and having something that's online promoting you and your anglers, and just more than anything taking the hassle out of it.
Yeah, and you can set it up however, whether you do like highest points, lowest points, whether you do it by sections or like all different ways of scoring matches that make it very complicated to try and do yourself. You can just set it up at the start and get it working how you want it to work.
No matter how weird and wacky your rules are, you can get them in here.
I'm going to find it. I'll find a rule that doesn't work. There's got to be one.
Yeah, they do still crop up sometimes, but yeah, fishing is, yeah, it's pretty kamikaze with the rules that you start to notice. I think this is probably one of the issues the sport has had, that it's just so, every match and every club and every organizer scores them so differently, but we have allowed you, no matter how you want to do it, to score them that way.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? If you're not sure on anything, or if you have found a weird rule that doesn't work, just give you a shout and
We'll fix it. We'll add it in. Absolutely. We're trying to make this better. So yeah, people are the community are really good at coming with ideas, and we'll stick it on the list and we'll get it in there. All right, Rich, now let's take a look at the open table.
Quite a few of the names we've looked at already in the overall. Young Harry Campbell leading the way with 46 points. Chris Reeder jumping 42 places on 45 points. But as you sort of scroll down the table, you've got a lot of the names that we sort of seen last season. Stephen Kovac, Roy Bradburn, a lot like Westwood, Bradshaw's, those sort of venues. They're getting involved again for the next season. Quite a few of those picked up money at the same time. So it's great to see like they're getting involved. But you're seeing quite a few more of the southern lads popping up as well, with venues down there getting involved. I don't know if they were sort of not involved last season or not fishing them as regularly, but like Mark Pollard, legend of the game, fishing sort of Twin Lakes fishery, and there's a couple down there. Pete Archer's another one that's that sort of Bedfordshire region. There seems to be quite a few of those getting involved, which is good to see.
Those were in here last season. I think their anglers are just starting to do pretty well now and being consistent and appearing up there, which I agree is great to see.
Yeah, but it's good that like with it just being a shorter season, it's not a year-long thing. It lets it mix itself up a bit, and like you get that refresh at the start of the season where everyone's back to the level playing field. And there's anglers that might fish more during a certain season, or like there's anglers that stand out like in the autumn they're mega, or really good winter anglers and stuff. So it's interesting to see, and I'm sure you'll see names that we're seeing all the time consistently up there, and then there's going to be sort of seasonal anglers as well that you can have a good run of form or time of year suits you, and then it's dead interesting to see who sort of ends up at the top of the table. And again, it's all to play for at the moment. Big jumps like Jack Gundy 27 places, a Bradshaw angler. Pete Archer's been quite consistent fishing down in Bedfordshire. Jason Smith, again, Westwood Lakes, he's won with a ticket, a first, a second, a third, nice and consistent down there. So you're starting to see the same names and same venues cropping up, but you only need a new venue to sign up and a few different anglers involved. And it like proper mixes a table up. Like Roy Bradburn, again, Partridge Lakes, he was up there throughout last season. But all these that we're talking about now, I think your top 20 goes down to sort of 33 points. They're all going to be in the mix there. And again, if you look at the ticket sales, you're probably down to sort of 30th place or something for the actual lowest prize for the tickets, aren't you?
So we pay out the top position to those who have got tickets. So if you're the highest ranking angler with a ticket, you're the one that's getting the top prize. So at the moment, Ryan in fourth will be getting the top prize of £700. So yeah, people outside the top 20 are going to be getting those last few prizes as it stands. I think what's really encouraging to see here is the venues who have started using hot fishing are still using it. They're liking it. So I'm really hoping that other organisers and events that see that this is great, that these big established venues are seeing value from this. What I'm hoping it does as well, I'm hearing it already from the venues now, is they know that some of the anglers are turning up now to get their points. And when it's summer, I guess it makes less of a difference because everyone's fishing. It'd be really interesting to see once it comes autumn and winter and a bit colder and a bit wetter, where when the matches get a bit smaller, if these organisers seeing a better turnout because the anglers are coming for their points. So then hopefully the organisers want to be part of this for their just to be part of the competition for their anglers, but also it'll be good for business because you're going to fill up those cold, wet winter matches.
That's it, because are you still getting venues signing up every week and different ones coming on board with you?
Absolutely. There's plenty of venues signing up. There's some who I'm surprised to not see in here because I know they're scoring loads of their matches. So I'm hoping as the season goes on, we'll start to see them. And we've got loads of ideas for having like venue playoffs and all stuff like that, where we can invite the best anglers from the different venues. So there's going to be loads of ways we keep innovating with this to get more and more anglers involved. I think the top 10 for prizes is great, but there's so many more ways that we can start to mix up the sport and kind of get everybody talking.
Yeah, that's it. And I think what we were having a little discussion before we came on of kind of ideas of big events and getting everyone included. So it's like mega potential on it. So definitely one to watch for the coming seasons and coming years, I suppose, isn't it? It's only going to grow and grow, and as more and more people get involved. But yeah,
exactly. Like a fishing match has sections to give out the prizes. That's exactly what we want to do as well, right? We have thousands and thousands of anglers part of this, so I want to think of all these different ways that we can slice and dice it, that people find it interesting, but again raises the profile of the sport, that outsiders look in and can see some of the cool things that we're doing.
That's it, and it's still wide open at the moment, isn't it? Early doors, and that's probably a prime example. Just scrolling down the leaderboard, Richie O'Connor, obviously Western Pools regular, does really well down there. He's got a ticket and jumped up 129 places in a week, so that's the sort of swings you can see at this stage. So even if you're well down the leaderboard, even at like my lowly effort, I'm probably still could make it up with a few decent results. So yeah, definitely keep an eye on it.
Rich is a good example of what people need to be aware of, that unfortunately this only works when you have one account where all your results are being applied to it. Organisers are not always as diligent as we want, and sometimes add anglers in twice, especially if you name something like Richie O'Connor, or if you like, sometimes you've got O'Connor, Richie O'Connor, Richie, Richard, Dickie. So if you notice that you've been added in here more than once, ping us a message, we'll merge those accounts and it puts all your points in one place. And I know that's what happened with him there. So he had results scattered across a couple of accounts. He gave us a heads up and we merged those in there. So if you're seeing this and you've seen something missing, just drop us a message and we'll combine them. And that's one of the things that we are always working on in the background to make that better, to stop organisers being able to add multiple accounts. But yeah, if you do notice that, you can have these big jumps, because I know there's a few anglers that have got that at the moment. All right, Rich, we're into the majors now in week 4. What are you seeing?
That's it. So we've got Kieran Marsden, top of the table. Obviously, you're getting to that point of the season, aren't you, where it's starting to slow down a bit. People have qualified for finals. A lot of them are putting time into sort of practicing for them and focusing on that side of things. So it's taken a bit of getting going this season, but you're starting to see some like big movements now that you only need one good result and you're right up there on the leaderboard. Kieran Marsden leading the way at the moment with 29 points. I think his highest result is a third, but fishing sort of match this is Fish North, Fishing Manias, all that sort of thing. I think he's had a third and a seventh so far. So it's not about just winning matches, which going to these majors, which is pretty much all your qualifiers and stuff like that. It can get a bit sort of disheartening when you're drawing pegs that you know you've not got a chance of qualifying off. So doing this, knowing you're fishing for your points as well, it gives you a reason to stay, reason to go to your peg, and sort of helps you out with that mentality side of things of going and just fishing and getting the most from your peg. That, yeah, fair enough, you might not be qualifying for a big final, but if you can get a half decent result, you get a few points and you're fishing for money on that side of things as well. So it makes it again goes back to changing the way you fish and how you think about your matches, that it gives you another reason to go and another reason to stay, because that's one thing, isn't it, where you draw rubbish, and the amount of people you see going home or packing up early, it's quite nice on that side of things. But yeah, you've got plenty of movements on that. Penwright in one jumping up 37 places. I
think that's it, because the matches that these guys are fishing are so big, right? Like 100 odd, and we're only giving points to the top 10. It's easy to not score, and it's easy if you do get some points to bump straight up. So yeah, this isn't one that has those big. It's not always the same anglers at the top of here. It can change really quick with a bit of good form. But I mean, Kristen, he is a man on form, right? And he's the highest ranking angler that is in the points in the prizes at the moment.
That's it. When you look at like your top two, Christian Jones, Jamie Hughes, they're the ones you associate. And to be fair, they're the ones that are going to be fishing the most matches and getting the most opportunities. And you only need to look at the results where it's obvious the system's working, because they're going to be consistent, that when they're not winning, they're not blowing out totally. They're sort of finishing your top 10 and they're knocking on the door consistently. But yeah, Penwrighton's another one who's jumped right up there. He was second at Todber Manor on the Fishermania with some ridiculous weight, £419, and didn't even win. I think he's only missed out by about £20 there, so it's been like proper tight match by their standards. And then Fish South as well at one of the events. Obviously you've got Fish North, Fish Midlands and Fish South all included in the majors. He's qualified at Ivy House Lake, so he's got a final to fish from that, and obviously plenty of points off the back of that as well, so that's bumped him right up in the overall to on the majors to third, jumping 37 places. But as you say, scrolling down, Christian Jones highest rank with a ticket, Jamie Hughes level on points. Is it worth explaining how that works? Obviously with Christian and Jamie both being on 22 points, how's Christian ranking above Jamie?
So what we do in that instance is if you're drawing on points, it will go down to how many first places you've got, then how many seconds. So if you look on the platform here, you can scroll to Christian and you can just click this little button here and it'll show you how many firsts, seconds and thirds they've had. And if you click down to Jamie,
so again, one first, so then it's going to be the next one down, isn't it? So sort of he'll have a seventh or something like that, but Christian's might be a fifth. So It just keeps going until
he had to stop at some point. If this comes down to the finish at the end, then obviously we would show more results. But I think that's good enough, and people can kind of see how it works.
Yeah, and you get over the course of a season, it works itself out a lot more, as well as you've got more results on the table, and it finds its balance naturally, doesn't it? These early stages are always a bit up and down with the results, and you get a lot more ties at this point, but by sort of week 10, you're going to be settled in a lot more. And
this really surprises me, I must admit. So we're looking at the top 20 here, and I think we're paying out the top 7 of this. That the person, so there's like 4 people on this page that have got a ticket that would be in the prizes. I thought the majors would be the one where the anglers would really get behind this, because obviously they're the most into the chasing the money. I think it's maybe an education piece of this just still needing to get out there, but there's an awful lot of anglers on here that would be in the money right now if they got a ticket. It was interesting. I had a good call with Art Hilmy, who won the prize in the spring season, and he said himself that in some of the matches that he was fishing where he'd probably gone home, he stayed because he knew that he wanted to get in the points, and that really paid off for him. So I think it'd be really good if we get to that point and more of the major anglers involved in this, that if they're all paying out all this money to be part of the qualifiers anyway, they can still win some of their money back if they're not the people winning the match.
Yeah, it makes it a more like enjoyable day, sort of. If you know you've drawn rubbish and just fishing a nice match, getting a few bites, maybe fishing for silvers or something to fill the gaps just to bump your weight up a bit. That's a far nicer day than driving to a venue being, oh, that's rubbish, and then going home and giving them 70 quid or whatever it is for the privilege of not fishing. So yeah, from that side of things, it's mega and gives another dimension to fishing these qualifiers that can, over the course of a year when you're doing them, get a bit soul destroying, and you might be going and not fishing matches and all of that, which isn't good for anyone. So it keeps you on it, gives you a reason to fish. And even like now, you look at young Brad Lucas, he's what is he, third highest ranked with a ticket at the moment with 20 points. He's a prime example of just going and fishing where sort of he's had like a 6th, a 7th, a 9th, like not sort of like in your head, you know you're probably not qualifying, but just getting those few extra points and bumping you up on there, he can be winning a few hundred quid at the end of the season, which for not putting any extra sort of money into it really, other than your 30 quid at the start of it, it's like, it's a bit of a no-brainer really. But that's always a nice one where you can see that it's rewarding that consistency rather than one like where you've drawn best peg on the lake and qualified for a final. It's been nice and consistent across the events and across the sort of big matches. Absolutely.
And great Brad as well, one of the younger anglers. yeah, brilliant to see.
Yeah, it's getting scary, isn't it? There's a lot of the young lads, especially at the moment, that are right up there in the mix. But we'll see over the sort of coming weeks, it's going to be all over the place, isn't it? You look at like Ryan Lidgard jumping 87 places, Ben Townsend, I think he was 4th on the top of the Fisho, jumping like 120 places. So it's still one result you can fly up or fly down, I suppose, can't you? So it'd be interesting to see how that all unfolds. There's still obviously couple of Fisho qualifiers left, isn't there? Golden Meal's got another month or so. And obviously Fish North, Fish Midlands, Fish South, I think still got a few. So there's still plenty to come. And then I think next season, you're probably going to see a lot more of the like silverfish events. You've got Angling Trust, Silverfish and Gary Rogers ones. They're probably going to start coming into play at the back end of the season. So I think that's going to be an interesting one as well. As you see the sort of events and the style of fishing change, you're probably going to see a lot of different names popping up and at the top of the leaderboard compared to this time of year. So it'll be interesting to see who comes through then.
What I'm really interested to do at the end of the season, so now we're looking at Fisho, for example, in the spring season and the summer season that it's split. What I'll be able to do when that tournament's over is some kind of roundups of the whole thing, like who was the best of the overall tournament and things like that. So now we're getting the data for all these matches in one place. We can do some really cool stuff, especially then as we start to go season on season and looking back. Like, I find it amazing with fishing. Like, I've tried to get the winners of all the placements of the winners of just the finals from the last 5 years of fishing. It just doesn't exist. Like, in fishing, if you don't come in the top 3, like, it just vanishes. Even the televised events, which I think is amazing. Like, it's kind of weird, right? So it's really with this where we'll start to be able to see, and especially the anglers, how you've done over time, how venues are fishing, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's quite sad, isn't it, when you think about like all those big events that even if you go looking for it, you can't find the data. And a lot of the lads that, yeah, they won't be finishing in the top 3, but if you've put the time and effort into like qualifying, you got through to Fisho, may have a match this, whatever it might be, it's nice to have something where you've got that permanent record on there that you can go back and look at and see how you did. And maybe over the course of a few years, you can like track your results, see yourself getting better, framing in more matches. And just from that personal level of work, seeing how you're improving, how, like saying at the end of the season, you can look at how many matches you've won, how many matches you've framed in and all that. It'd be a nice one to sort of gauge your progress as an angler.
Exactly. And that's exactly what we want to be able to do, that you can log in as your own angler account and just see, am I improving? Yeah, maybe I'm not winning, but am I getting better? The whole you versus you mentality. So yeah, that's all coming. And we're finally documenting who's winning matches and the sport, so we can evolve from a pastime, which is still perceived as, to a proper sport.
That's it. So yeah, be interesting to see how it all sort of develops over the years, but at the moment it's getting interesting, and as the season unfolds as well, it'll be interesting to see who ends up at the top this year and wins a few quid along the way.